This is the Louie T Network. The journey is long, and nobody said it was going to be easy. But all we've got is us.
You have any quarterback news for us?
All that believe.
Yes, we do have news. We have announced that Kirk Cousins will be the starter for 2015 moving forward. And I think all three quarterbacks should be commended for their efforts, their willingness to get better. But when it's all said and done, after all the film that we've gone through, all the off-season activity, all the training camp footage, we feel like at this time, Kirk Cousins gives us the best chance to win, and that's where we're going.
When you say for 2015, does that mean barring?
It's Kirk's team.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sisters. I am your man and resident Redskin fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here at Redskins Report. Week 4, bow and go. Let's put a bow on that ugly Week 3 loss to the New York Football Giants and go on to the Week 4 matchup at FedEx Field versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So, it's been a while since we talked. Giants lost in week number 3. And the Giants didn't just beat us, they battered us as well. We left that game worse for wear. We lose 2 guards in that game. Sean Laval gone for the season, and he was playing his best football as a Washington Redskin, no longer going to be playing this season. We also lose Josh Laribas. He's not going to play in this upcoming week's game. He left that game with an injury, left us with Tom straight out of Compton at guard. That was not pretty. We lose D'Angelo Hall to the toe injury for a couple of weeks. Probably going to be more like a month before we see him on the football field again. So we really incurred some damage to and we were already a banged up team going into that football game and really couldn't sustain any more injuries, and we did. So Giants not only beat us on the scoreboard, they beat our players up as well. You can't have the mistakes we had. Kirk Cousins didn't play well. That's an understatement. By far his worst game of the season, and a huge part of why we weren't able to get it done in that football game. Turnovers. We can't turn the football over. We're not a good enough team. I can't stress that enough. We can't have the silly mistakes. Matt Jones, who? Matt Jones can't fumble. That's 2 of them in a row, 2 weeks straight. Rams game he fumbled. The Giants game he fumbled. Young fellas got to hold on to the football. What happened to AM? Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's Alpha Morris. Did you see what they did? I talked about this very briefly in the R3 Redskins Rapid React right after the game. I said, did you notice who took those first team reps? That first possession of the game, you saw who was on the field, right? I don't like it, okay? Fix it. Fix it. AM should be on the field. AM should be getting the bulk of the carries. I don't have a problem with that 18-19 split we saw against the Rams, but I don't want to see that one guy being Matt Jones. Who? Matt Jones with 15 carries and Alfred only getting 6. Nah, I don't want to see that. So they need to fix that. That's a little off kilter right there. Special teams can't kill us. They've been killing us for so long now. It's almost like it's something that I'm accustomed to. You don't want to be accustomed to having special teams wreck your chances of winning football games, but that's what our special teams unit has been doing for about 3 years strong now. And so I'm numb to the fact that we make mistakes on special teams. It's a shame. It's almost like it's a surprise when we don't make some kind of gaffe on special teams. We had another one in that game. Despite Rashad Ross's 101-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, special teams was still a disaster in Week 3's loss to the Giants. And we didn't get any turnovers. For a second consecutive week, no turnovers produced by the Redskins defense. They were solid, but in order for us to take that next step as a football team, especially on the defensive side of football, where we feel like, hey, we're not that bad, we need to start generating turnovers and giving the offense shorter fields. It's really hard to go 85 yards in 13 plays in this league, especially when you're a team like us that tends to make mistakes. We're very prone to penalties. Hard for us to go 14 plays without making some type of mistake. It's hard for any team to do that, let alone us. We need shorter fields to try to help this offense out, and we just seem to not be able to get our hands on turnovers. That being said, Giants get us last week 32-21. Let's move on and go to the Week 4 matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a game, I told you last week, I was not confident about that Giants matchup. A, we don't play well against the Giants in New York. B, or in New Jersey. And B, the Giants own us. I'm afraid of the Giants. I'm terrified of the Giants. I've told you this many a times. I'm not afraid of the Eagles. I'm not afraid of the Cowboys, but I am afraid of the Giants. Well, I told you this already. I'm not afraid of the Eagles. In fact, I think this is a very winnable game. I expect to win this game. I'm extremely confident this week that we're going to be able to bounce back. Now, there are some things that worry me very, very badly in this football game, and I'll touch on those in a second. But let me just first say that I expect us to win this football game. I think we're, right now, and I don't think this is overall, I don't think we're a better team than the Eagles, okay? I think the Eagles have more talent than we do. I think the Eagles are a better outfit than us. The thing that I feel like right now is we're a better team than the Eagles right now. I think the Eagles are struggling. They're still trying to find an identity. They really don't know who they are. And so I think they're trying to figure some things out just like we're trying to figure some things out. But I think we are a little bit further along in the process. We got to be a little bit more consistent as a football team. But in this game, I think we got a legitimate shot at beating the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'll be surprised if we don't win this game, to be honest with you. It's going to be ugly. Joaquin, and I live in VA. So I'm dealing with the remnants from Joaquin right now. A lot of rain, a lot of wind. That's what's going to happen on Sunday. Right now, the game is scheduled for 1 o'clock. They have not moved it back. They have not altered the schedule thus far. And of course, everything is fluid right now. That situation is fluid. We don't know what the hurricane itself is going to do. If Joaquin decides he wants to crash the party, then that game is going to be postponed and moved to some other date, some other time. But right now, 1 o'clock Sunday seems to be the time that this game is going to take place. And if it does happen, it's going to be wet, it's going to be windy, and that's going to be to our advantage because, look, I could care less about the rain, okay? Wet and wind is what I want, but to be honest with you, I could care less about the wet. I need the wind because the wind takes the football out of the air. You can throw the football when it's wet, okay? You can still catch the football. Quarterbacks can still go out there and sling it. But when it's windy, then you don't have control over what's going on, and you got to throw tight spirals just to cut through it. I'll take my chances with the wind howling and gusting out there and stopping the Eagles from having consistency on offense throwing football. That's right up our alley because we just want to pound them into oblivion. So I think this nasty weather can just, I think it'll fall right in line with what we want to do in this game. And it's going to make for a messy, nasty contest, one that favors the Redskins at home with our style of play. So I really feel good about what we're doing and what this game could be. And the Eagles, they struggled to run the football this season. Last week was their best performance running the ball against the Jets. I don't think they're going to be able to do that against our front seven. There's one thing that we do really well, and that's stop the run. Our secondary is so banged up right now that we need the win to be a factor. Listen to this. Cully, our starting corner, he could be out this game. He's questionable with a leg injury that he sustained during practice during this week. He's got, and they're talking about it's a leg, a thigh, and a groin. So they don't even know exactly what the injury is. They just know it's pretty bad, and he may not play. They're hoping he's able to go, but if he's not, listen to this. We got 3 healthy corners, okay? 3 healthy corners. Vitamin B, who you know I absolutely love. And I think, yeah, he had a rough game, but a lot of people are overblowing it. I actually thought he was in great position. He just got to make plays. Simple as that. They targeted him a lot in that game, but a lot of off coverage, a lot of keep the football in front of you, come up and make the tackle. And I think that's a byproduct of Joe Barry's defensive scheme. I don't think Joe Barry's scheme is one that has you in the face of a receiver. You're off the football. You keep everything in front of you. You don't give up big plays. You make teams beat you. And that's what we did. Eli Manning and the Giants, they only scored off of big plays. There are 2 touchdowns in this game on the offensive side of the football that didn't come off of the turnover that we sustained early in the game where they were able to get a quick touchdown off of the Kirk Cousins interception. Their 2 touchdowns were big plays. Everything else was field goals. We were able to keep them out of the end zone because they had to matriculate the football down the field. They had to dink and dunk. Eli Manning hasn't thrown an interception all year long because they dink and dunk the football. And so we forced them to make big plays because they weren't going to be able to dink and dunk their way into the end zone. And I think that's a byproduct of Joe Barry's defense. But in that defense, when you play that way, you're going to give up completions in front of you, and that's what happened to Bashaud Breeland, if you ask me. But nonetheless, we'll have Bashaud Breeland, vitamin B, Will Blackman, a guy that just joined this team literally 2 weeks ago for that Rams game, and Quentin Dunbar. Now, if that name strikes a chord with you, that's because this is a guy that was a receiver in camp with us just a mere, I want to say 2 years ago. I think he might have even been in camp with us this year and made the transition from wide receiver to cornerback. So you're using a practice squad guy as a corner in a situation where you're like, hey, you got to play. I mean, this could be a really bad situation for us. Let's hope Cully can go. Then you can put vitamin B on the other side, stick Will Blackman in the slot, and just hope and pray nobody gets injured. If Cully can't go, then you're going to have vitamin B on one side. You're going to probably have to have Blackman on the outside. And then you're going to have to take Kyshawn Jarrett, the rookie out of Valtech, and stick him in the slot. It could be really ugly for the Redskins in the secondary. We better hope and pray that it is windy as hell on Sunday so that the Eagles have to take to the ground just like us, and the passing game isn't as big a factor as it could be because we are hurting, man. We are hurting bad in that secondary. And that's the part of the game that I think could change the game and could really see this game not go in the favor of the Redskins. And that's the only thing that I'm really nervous about. I think we can run on the Eagles, even though their defense has been really good. I mean, you take all the other things out of the scenario. Their defense has been really good this year. I thought they did some good things against Atlanta in stretches of that game. They played really well against Dallas. The offense was just putrid in that game. And last week, they forced 4 jet turnovers. So this defense has been performing this season. And they got one of the most underrated defensive lines. So to have Spencer Long out there making his debut this season along the offensive line at left guard, not really something I'm looking forward to against that defensive front. We'll see if he's able to hold up next to Big Trent, Silverback. And look, now you're talking about 3 guys with limited experience on this offensive line in Sheriff at right guard, Spencer Long at left guard, and Morgan Moses at right tackle. We could be in some trouble. You know, Kirk's going to have to get the football out of his hands quickly. We're going to really rely heavily on the run game. The run game is going to have to carry us in this football game. If we're going to have any chance of beating the Philadelphia Eagles, this is a big game because at 1-2, we got a chance to get back to 500. This division is wide open. I mean, we saw what the Cowboys did last week. I think the Giants are going to go to Buffalo and lose this week. We could be sitting right there at the top of the division, tied with the Cowboys. They got to go to New Orleans. I think Drew Brees is going to play. You know, they're a tough team at home. This is not the same Saints team we're accustomed to, though. Cowboys could go on the road and win that game. They could lose that game. Either way, we can't concern ourselves with what else is going on in the division. We got to take care of us. And there's an Eagles team in front of us that's wounded, that is very, very vulnerable. We got to try and go get this one. And I think we can get this one. We're going to have to take care of the football. We're going to have to limit the penalties. We're going to have to be able to run the football. We got to win the field position battle. It'd be nice to generate turnovers, but it's not a necessity. But we got to find a way to get better field position if we're not going to win the turnover battle. And we got to make sure that we take full advantage of opportunities. If Jordan Reed is winning a one-on-one matchup and he's open, Kirk Cousins can't underthrow him. He's got to hit him and give him a chance to win that matchup. If we got a chance to break a big run, you got to cover up the football. You can't fumble the ball. Matt Jones. Who? Matt Jones. AM needs to be a bigger part of the offensive game plan this week. I want to see him starting the game. I think when he plays and gets more carries, the more touches he gets, the more effective he becomes. They need to give him the football a little bit more in this game. And I want to see Rashad Ross in the game. If the wind is not a factor, and I want us to take some shots. We didn't take those shots last week. Rashad Ross is on the roster. So you're telling me this guy can't come in the game and run a straight 9 route and just throw it up to him? You're telling me he's incapable of doing that? Throw the football deep, back the defense off, make them respect the guy that can run, and it'll open up some more lanes in the run game. I'm hoping Spencer Long is able to hold it down. I'm nervous about him. I'm nervous about our secondary. I'm nervous about Joaquin. I'm nervous about a lot of things. But I think we can win this football game more so than last week. I'm taking the Redskins to win this game. I feel good about this. 23-17. Give me Washington. Sam Bradford doesn't scare me, okay? Sam Bradford has looked very sketchy throughout this season. I don't think he's looked comfortable at any stretch of this season other than in week 1 in the second half, okay? He's been very marginal at best. Last week, I didn't think he looked that sharp. He did throw the football well to the running backs out the backfield, and that's something they're going to look to exploit. Their running backs winning one-on-one matchups with our linebackers. No Perry Riley Jr. again in this game. No Deshaun Jackson, no D Hall. We're banged up. We're a banged up football team. They're going to look to try to win some matchups with our linebackers. We have to do a good job putting pressure on Sam Bradford. You put pressure on him, he will do some funny things with that football. He'll share. He'll get really generous, but we got to apply pressure. We didn't do any of that last week. We have an opportunity to make amends this week. Let's see if we can't go out, do some things on the defensive side of the football, do some things on the offensive side of football, and win a game in the NFC East at home. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be Redskins football. I am a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. My Redskins spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hey, to our beloved Redskins. As I always say this time on the show, go get them, fellas.
There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at InTheLabRoom, or you can like the Facebook page at In The Lab Room. That's In The Lab Room on Facebook and at In The Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. The Redskins Report.